everybody, welcome back to Bold Strokes Books Bookathon and our last session for our first day. We have Melissa Brayden and Aurora Rey who will be reading for you tonight. Just a quick reminder to please put your questions for them in the Q&A box, which is a little icon at the bottom of your screen. And the chat roll is open if you want to post messages or comments or praise or whatnot for our panelists. So I'm going to pass it over to Aurora and Melissa to start their readings.
All right. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. How are you, Aurora Rey?
I'm fantastic, Melissa Brayden. How are you?
I'm great. I'm down here in Texas, and you are in New York, correct?
I am, complete with winter storm warning for tonight.
Oh, my. So you're in a very different world from me. I had like a high of like 75. And
oh. I mean, so summer will be amazing. I just keep telling myself summer will be amazing.
You just hang in there. We're gonna get through all of this, and we're gonna seize the summer. I just know it.
Fingers crossed for sure.
So what have you been up to in the midst of the quarantine?
Well, I'm still working. I work at a college, and we are all remote. So I've converted my dining room into a home office, and I'm actually spending many hours a day on the Zoom. So
you're a pro at this.
I'm getting to be, although it's much more fun to talk about books and writing and hang out with my author friends. Nothing against like finance faculty members, but it's just not the same.
It's a little bit different.
How about you? You're sort of full, like, not that you work full-time mom mode all the time, but you're full momming it right now.
Yeah, I guess you could say. So I have an almost 2-year-old who normally goes to nursery school during the day when I write, and that's no more right now. So full-time, he has been in the house for a month now without leaving. So it's been new and exciting, and we're getting some extra time together. So I don't know, in the midst of this, we might hear him race through. We might hear a dog or two. My house is a little bit of a circus, but I think we can get through this.
I want to know if he still fits through the doggy door.
Yes, he still fits through the doggy door and still goes through it. Not out of necessity, just because for recreation purposes. He jumps.
I think if I fit through the doggy door, I'd probably do that too.
I guess so. It's a thing. He also has a playhouse. He likes to go through the window. I don't know what, we're going to figure it out as he gets older.
He has a creative temperament. I think that's a win.
I guess so. But no, we're doing good, and we're hanging in there, and we're getting lots of together time. And so not going to complain about it. I'm going to look back on these hours together fondly in the future, I'm sure. Right.
I think that's the spirit. We sort of have to look at the little upsides that come with these very strange times.
I think you're right about that. But for tonight, we have some readings on tap. Are you going to be reading from your new release? I know you have one.
I am. The Last Place You Look.
Okay, so
just out, like officially out everywhere, like last week.
I was about to say, it's like brand new, like hot off the press is new.
It is. And you had one out in March, right?
Yeah, so mine's been out a little bit longer, but I will be reading from To the Moon and Back. So should we read?
I think that's a fantastic idea. I think we agreed ahead of time because we're organized like that you would go first.
Yes. We did the rock, paper, scissors. We didn't really, but I like to pretend. So I'll be reading first tonight, actually, if we're being proper. And as I said, I'll be reading from my new release, which is To the Moon and Back. And it's the story of Lauren. I kind of imagine that the cover is Lauren, in my head at least. And she is an uptight professional stage manager at the McAllister Theater in Minneapolis. And it's a very esteemed regional theater, the kind of place that it's an honor for actors to perform in. And she will be stage managing a new and upcoming, very exciting play starring Carly Daniel, who is a actress known for her film work and is very famous, but she's also kind of tanked her own career recently because she's a bit much to handle. She's got kind of a wild child reputation, but she's very charismatic and beautiful. And as you can imagine, now she's Lauren's problem as she enters into the show and the production. And so the scene that I'm going to read from tonight is a point in the book where their relationship and their working roles have switched a little bit. And now they're able to, for the first time, maybe explore some of the things that they are feeling for each other. All right. Want a ride to work? Lauren stared down at the text message that had just arrived as she prepared her bag for rehearsal. Water, snacks, her rehearsal shoes, and headphones when she wasn't needed. What she hadn't prepared for was seeing Carly this early, or the way her skin tingled at the thought. What in the world was she supposed to do now? Giving in to her guilty pleasure, she typed back, "If you can be here within 10 minutes. The reply was almost instantaneous. "I'm in your driveway with 2 vanilla lattes. Send me away or get the hell out here so we can drive to work together." Lauren laughed. She headed down her sidewalk with her bag in her hand and slid into Carly's upscale rental, a red BMW convertible with the top down. The morning sun shone brightly on Carly, making her blonde hair pop with color. "This is a really nice car," Lauren said, looking around. "The theater actually rented this for you? Is that possible?" While they did their best to accommodate celebrities and residents, the budget only went so far. Carly handed over a latte. "Let's just say I upgraded." She popped her oversized black sunglasses onto her face, and they hit the road with the wind in their hair. "Oh, of course you did," Lauren said. "Hey, I cannot have people taking photographs of me in a Buick. Oh, the world would end. Or my career would." Carly glanced over at her. "You look really pretty today. I've thought that about 8 times since you got in the car, but I feel like I should say it." "Oh, thank you. You're okay too, I guess." Carly gasped and she studied the road. "You were hard to impress. I'm gonna have to do more with myself in the future." "I know," Lauren said. "Just look at you." She laughed and shook her head because Carly was beyond beautiful and the entire world knew it. In fact, today she seemed like a new kind of attractive, the California kind, something about the sun and the open air. "Did you sleep well?" Carly asked. Just the mention had Lauren remembering the desperate state she woke in, and the very detailed dream of Carly doing decadent things to her in the rehearsal hall. "I did okay," she said conservatively. "Wild dreams. About me?" Carly joked. Lauren's mouth went dry. "Oh, rehearsal. Gotcha. One of those dreams where everything goes wrong and you don't know your lines? The worst. I had them all the time when we first started. Nearly every night." No, it was different than that. I love this song." She tried to move them off of the topic by feigning intense interest in the radio. In fact, she turned up the volume and jammed out just like an idiot. Carly looked over at her curiously as she applied her turn signals. "Why are you being weird? Are you Mick Jagger all of a sudden? What kind of moves are those?" "This is how I dance in the car." Well, hell, now she had to commit to it. She tossed her arms around, threw them over her head, and pushed her lips out, trying to stay on beat, which, hello, was not easy for her. "You have got duck face down," Carly said. "Wow, impressive. Do some more. Yes, just like that." Carly brought the car to a stop at a traffic light and relaxed. She turned to Lauren calmly. "So do you want to talk about the sex dream you had about me, or you want to pretend you flail around in the morning to music you don't even like?" Lauren blinked and slowed her dance break. "Wasn't a big deal. Have you tried that chicken place over there? It is amazing. Get the green sauce. I'm thinking it's the tomatillo." "Oh my God," Carly said. "You did have a sex string about me, you little minx." Lauren's jaw dropped. "You acted like you already knew. You didn't know?" "Of course I didn't know. How could I know?" "I don't know. Neither did I." "I wondered," Carly said, "but then you fell completely for my trap, and it is honestly the most gratifying thing that has ever happened to me." They pulled into the McAllister Theater, and Carly wasn't done. "I am crazy impressed with myself right now. I'm beaming. I feel like I am beaming. Am I?" She pulled off her sunglasses and checked herself in the rearview mirror, dimples on full display. "I totally am." Lauren scoffed, doing her best to downplay. "Like I said, it wasn't even a big deal. We should just focus on our day." "Not a big deal? Really?" Carly turned off the ignition and regarded her. "I thought we'd be, I don't know, good at it." God, cue the unasked for blush once again. Lauren felt the heat spread over her face. She hated how suggestible she was in Carly's presence. I didn't say we weren't good at it. She looked Carly square in the eye when she said it. Having bundled her courage, felt good. Carly's lips parted and she blinked. Her tongue touched the top lip and Lauren felt it. It was a good dream then. Lauren nodded. The upbeat music still played from the car's stereo, and for several long moments it remained the only sound. Finally, much to her own surprise, Lauren was the first one to speak. The spark between them was undeniable. She knew it. Carly seemed to know it. What was Lauren waiting for? Maybe we should have dinner sometime. Only if that's something you would be interested in. You can say no. She felt like a vulnerable and awkward teenager asking the cool girl out. You're asking me on a date. Carly said it more like a victorious statement, more than anything else. Lauren held off exhaling for a moment until they were through this part, until she had an answer. All right, sure, Carly said. What about now? Right now? What? No, we have rehearsal, Lauren laughed. Absolutely not. She pursed her lips. What about tomorrow night, though? She was on some sort of adrenaline high now, and it apparently supplied her courage. Carly tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, and Lauren took in the smooth column of her neck. She had flawless skin, perfect for a cinematic close-up. Lauren wanted to run one finger down that neck, to her collarbone, down to the center of her chest, to the round. I'm free tomorrow night, Carly said. You can pick a place, and I'll drive. Lauren gave her head a tiny shake to wake herself from the fantasy. Carly quirked an eyebrow and glanced down at her chest. She wore an open-collared shirt, and there was a hint of cleavage. Please tell me you were just checking me out. Lauren sipped her latte in a very obvious, playful manner. Fine, she confessed. I was. And that's it. That's the end of this reading. Oh, I've lost your audio. I think you're on mute. There you go.
In case my dogs barked, but I was clapping for you because there's no.
Oh, you
like,
were.
I was clapping.
I appreciate that very much. Applause of one. Yay. So,
I had to laugh because I feel like these are like kind of simpatico readings. There's no Buick reference in my reading, but my main character, Julia, her marriage falls apart and she has to move back home, and she moves into her deceased grandmother's house to work at her family winery, and she's driving her Mima's Buick around town because that's the only car she has. So
yeah, the books have a tie-in.
Not a chick magnet by any means.
It's a great tie-in, though. I love it.
So yes, I'm reading From the Last Place You Look. Julia Pierce is recently divorced. She's been in New York City for the last decade, and her marriage has ended. And she's had to move back home, kind of take a pity job at the family winery, live in her grandma's house. And she bumps into someone she knew kind of loosely in high school, Taylor, who's always stayed, who never left town, who has a woodworking business. Taylor kind of had a crush on Julia in high school, and now that Julia's back, that's kind of been revived. Only Julia has decided that she never really did the dating thing, and she's going to date everybody and try to have some fun. And Taylor signs on to being her wingman because she can't be just one of Julia's conquests, but she kind of wants to look out for Julia because Julia's a little clumsy when it comes to dating. So the scene I'm going to read is a little bit into the book. Julia has been dating, and she's just ended a fairly disastrous date and is kind of hanging out with Taylor to kind of decompress from that. One more? Julia eyed her hopefully. Your wish is my command. Taylor clicked the keep watching button. Julia nuzzled deeper into the sofa and took a sip of her wine. I know this isn't a date, but this is the best date. Taylor couldn't help but smile. Maybe you're going on the wrong kind of dates. Julia eyed her with sarcasm. You think? Remind me why you're doing this again? She knew, but she wanted Julia to say it out loud, really own wanting it. Julia sat up, nearly sloshing her wine over the edge of her glass. I'm proving a point. To whom exactly? She frowned. Myself. Okay, just making sure. You think I'm crazy, don't you? Not crazy. She knew dangerous territory when she saw it. But you don't get it. She might not get Julia's methods, but she could appreciate the sentiment. I get the spirit of it. The frown became a scowl, but then Julia shrugged. I guess that's close enough. The episode started and conversation lulled. Taylor half-watched Liz's ill-advised attempts to make things work out with Dennis again. When the credits rolled, she turned to ask Julia if she'd learned anything about settling, but found her asleep. She looked peaceful and, although she'd hate the word, vulnerable. How could this woman stir her most primal desires and her desire to protect at exactly the same time? Even as she asked the question, she knew the answer. She didn't like it, but she knew it. She was halfway in love with Julia Pierce. Halfway being a conservative estimate. Taylor collected the dishes and glasses from the coffee table and brought them to the kitchen. She returned to the living room and shut off the TV. Julia didn't stir. Taylor grabbed a blanket from the back of the sofa and laid it gently over her. Don't go. Julia's mumbled the command, eyes half-lidded. I'm not going far, Taylor said. Just to bed. Can I come? Taylor froze. Did she hear right, or did she imagine it? Or was Julia talking in her sleep? Just to cuddle. I promise I won't get handsy. Okay, so not imagining it. And Julia wasn't dreaming either, if she had the wherewithal to throw in caveats. There was no way humanly possible this would go well. But equally impossible was denying Julia's almost timid request. Of course. Julia pushed the blanket to the side and extended her hand. Taylor closed her eyes and took a steadying breath, and then she took it. It felt at once natural and surreal to lead Julia up the stairs to her bedroom. She let go of Julia's hand long enough to flip on the lamp near the bed. She turned and found Julia looking down at her dress, frowning. Do you want a t-shirt to sleep in? Because that wasn't the stuff of fantasy. Julia smiled. I'd love one. Taylor went over to her dresser and pulled one out. She handed it to Julia. I'll give you a minute. Thanks. She went to the bathroom, bracing her hands on the vanity and staring at herself in the mirror. It wasn't that she didn't trust herself to act like a gentleman. No, it was her own feelings she worried about, letting them tumble out into a messy pile at Julia's feet. She shook her head. Get a grip, Winslow. After counting to 50, she returned to the bedroom. She found Julia in her bed, covers pulled up to her chin. I didn't know which side of the bed was yours. It doesn't matter. Not like she'd be getting any sleep. Come on, everyone has a side. Fine, left. Julia scooted over to the right. See, that wasn't so hard. Taylor got into bed and switched off the lamp. The nearly full moon gave the room an iridescent glow. Julia had turned onto her side to face her. Taylor cleared her throat. Do you need anything else? I should have asked. I'm good. Thanks for letting me crash. Anytime. Julia smiled. Good night. Night. Julia closed her eyes, but Taylor kept hers open. She'd given a lot of thought to what it might be like to spend the night with Julia. None of those thoughts, or fantasies, or daydreams, had looked like this. But she couldn't quite manage to bring herself to be disappointed. This was probably a terrible idea. Getting closer to Julia made it seem like maybe something was there, something more than a roll in the hay. But that could be wishful thinking as much as anything else. Pursuing it would be a huge risk. To her ego, yes, but also to her heart. The question, the one that kept her up at night, even without Julia lying next to her, was she willing to risk it?
Yay.
Thanks.
Well done.
I think you too.
You pulled out one of my favorites, which is the borrowed t-shirt. I gotta look, like an ode to the borrowed t-shirt. That's like one of my, on my sexy list. Yeah.
There are like
sure.
so many song lyrics like flitting through my head when I read that. It's hard to not have my own dance partners.
I know, that's perfect. We only have a few minutes, and I see we have a couple of questions here. Shall I pull one?
I think that's fantastic.
Okay, first of all, we have from our dear friend El Spencer asking what our favorite quarantine drink is. It's tough. It's like, how do you choose between all your kids? But what about you?
Well, I mean, like, I haven't been drinking it, but like, I think wine's always my go-to. I've been doing old fashions because it has still
Yeah.
felt like winter here. But as I'm easing into spring, I just discovered this new tonic. It's an aromatic tonic, and it's this beautiful shade of pink. And with vodka or gin and some citrus, it tastes like spring. And so I think I'm gonna kind of switch over shortly.
Yeah,
How
I'm
about
with you. I'm with you. I red wine always is the fallback, the easy go-to for me. But I've been dabbling a little bit with darker craft beers since I've been locked away. But in terms of cocktails, a whiskey sour or an old fashioned are going to be favorites of mine. And like you, I've been leaning a little bit on the old fashions with the orange peel and such. So you gotta.
I won't say how many jars of those Luxardo cherries I have gone through in the last 6 months.
I got those in my fridge right now. I know exactly what you speak of. Okay, so do we have a say? The anonymous attendee is asking, and who narrates our audiobook? And if so, would you ever do your own? So we do have somewhat of a say. I know that our publisher, Bold Strokes Books, does a lot of the heavy work in kind of sifting through who good candidates will be. But when it comes down to it, I think that they check in with I've had several presented to me before. And then sometimes you just find a narrator who really suits your style and you stick with them for a bit. I'm not against narrating my own. It's, I don't have the equipment here. It would be a whole thing, but it sounds like a fun gig. Maybe someday. What about you?
It's funny, you have the theatrical background, and I think your cadence and your inflection are just so good. I don't know if I could do the different voices and different kind of registers that I think you need to make an audiobook kind of stay coherent to a listener. I have a hard time imagining I could sort of like overcome my self-consciousness to do that. I'm very fortunate. I think that Bold Strokes does the heavy lifting for us. I completely agree. We get to kind of give some notes and some feedback. And there's some really phenomenal narrators that Bold Strokes is sort of, I think, kind of put into rotation. And I just feel really fortunate to be part of that.
All right. What are you writing now?
I am actually finishing up edits on a book called Twice Shy that comes out in October. It is
great title.
Thank you. It is two people who are both older, a little bit older and divorced. This is my homage to the movie It's Complicated. So the main character has an affair with her ex, which is really a terrible idea. And she doesn't get back together with her ex, but it kind of like kicks off the story. So I need to be working on my next spring book, but I'm sort of pausing to get those edits in. How about you?
I am working on, I have my dog Apple is barking. I'm like, Apple, you've got to stop, but she won't. I'm so sorry. I am working on book 2 of a trilogy that I'm writing, a series that you talked about going back to a parent's winery. It's got a similar backdrop. It takes place on a vineyard, and it's 3 friends. One's a winemaker, one is the vineyard's daughter who owns the place, and one is a chef who comes to open a restaurant. So I'm writing the chef's book right now. It's the Tangle Valley romances.
I have a soft spot for the chef books, but this one, is it Oregon that it's in? Or
yes, we're in Willamette Valley. Yeah. And so this is Oregon wine we're talking about. And those folks are ferocious about their wine and about how specific it is coming from Oregon. So listen, that research was really hard.
I love getting to pick books. It's like, what do I want to think about for the next 3 months?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not going to complain. It looks like we have but 1 minute left before we're supposed to sign off. Any parting words or anything you want to add about what's going on with you?
No, I think a huge thank you to Bold Strokes for kind of organizing this. It's certainly not Klexicon, but I think we've been able to include some folks who maybe wouldn't have been able to travel. And like, thank you to everybody who showed up on Friday nights. Not that you had exciting places to be, but you could be watching something on Netflix and you came to hang out with us. And that's really awesome. So thank you. And thank you. You were phenomenal.
Oh, thank you. Yes, it was great chatting with you today. And we're on day 1 of the Bookathon, but this thing is headed through Sunday, and we have some fantastic flash sales going on. I think you can see in the chat bar, there's been some ads about it that you can pick up some cool books. But definitely, if you guys are bored, come back tomorrow, late afternoon into the evening, and the same on Sunday, and we'll have a whole different lineup of folks. But until then, Aurora, I hope to talk to you soon.
Likewise, take care, cuddle your dogs and your son for me.
All right. We're going to head out, everybody. Have a great one. Bye.
Bye.